In class, I've spoken probably ad nauseam about the extraordinary detail with which the Jewish scribes, over the course of the first millennium, transmitted the Hebrew text. I've been working on this particular manuscript for quite a while now, a year or two, and I've just come across a really nice detail that I think illustrates a little bit about this preservation. So this is just a sort of sidebar video talking about that. What we're looking at here is a manuscript of the Torah from probably before the year 1000 AD or CE. It is an extraordinarily well-preserved manuscript currently held in St. Petersburg. And we're looking in particular at Numbers 28. Numbers 28 and 29 are a long list of the sacrifices that need to be offered on a daily, weekly, monthly, and annual basis, according to the law. And I want us to focus in on this particular phrase right here. Isaron solet mincha bulula bashemen. Isaron, you may recognize the root asara, meaning 10. So an isaron is a 10th part. So this phrase, isaron solet mincha bulula bashemen, means a 10th part of fine flour for the mincha, the grain offering, bulula vashemen, well mixed with oil. What we're particularly interested in this point, though, is the spelling of this word, a 10th part, isaron. Now, look at this second occurrence, isaron. You can see that the O is spelt cholem vav. There's the vav. That's the usual spelling of the word. But notice that the first time it occurs, isaron, there's our resh, there's our final nun, there's no vav. So here the cholem is spelt just cholem without cholem vav. And you can see that this circle above takes us to this note to the side which says bet chaser, or twice defective. So that note simply means that there are two occurrences of this word, isaron, that occur without the vav. Okay, so far so good. It's already quite extraordinary when you think about it that this phrase, which just means a 10th part, the Masoretes were so dedicated to the preservation of every detail that they marked that the first occurrence should be spelt without a vav, whereas the second occurrence should be spelt with a vav. It gets even more impressive, though. As I said, these chapters, Numbers 28 and 29, are a long list of the sacrifices to be offered. And this phrase, a 10th part of fine grain, it actually occurs 5 times. So we have the first pair here, and you can see isaron spelled without the vav, and then the usual isaron with the vav. Right up here, you can see the second occurrence of the same phrase. Isaron, you can just about make out that there is a vav there. Isaron. So a 10th part shall you make it per lamb. Isaron, so there's our second occurrence of a 10th part. And you can see that both of those are spelt in the usual way. If we flip to the next part of the manuscript, the next page, there's our next occurrence. Isaron, a 10th part, again with the usual spellings. Flip to the next page. You can see another occurrence of isaron, up here, isaron, again with the usual spellings. There's our fourth occurrence. And finally, our fifth occurrence of the pair, isaron, again with the vav and with the vav. So there are our 5 occurrences of this phrase, isaron, a 10th part. In all of the occurrences, it is to be spelled in the usual way with the vav, apart from that very first occurrence of v'isaron, which is to be spelled without the vav. So there we have it. We've got 5 occurrences of this pair. So we've got 10 occurrences of the word isaron in Numbers 28 and 29. The first one is to be spelled without the vav. The other 9 are to be spelled in the usual way and with the vav. And the Masoretes were so intent on preserving every written detail that they received and every detail of the pronunciation that they received, that they came up with this system of notes, these Masoretic notes, to make sure that not one detail was lost. Just imagine the temptation of a scribe who's copying this out and he's perhaps a bit tired at the end of the day, the temptation to write a vav there so he spells that word in the usual way that it would be spelled. But that would be to add to the Torah, even in such a simple matter of adding to the spelling by adding that vav. And that had to be avoided because you shall neither add to nor decrease from the Torah, and so every spelling had to be preserved. Just to show that this isn't a one-off, let's have a look at this manuscript. This is a very famous manuscript, the Leningrad Codex. This is the manuscript. When you open your Hebrew Bible, this is the manuscript really that you are looking at. And here in Numbers 28, the Isaron, there again you can see this first occurrence, ron, without the vav. There's the second occurrence spelled as usual with the vav. And again, here we have this note saying, don't forget that the first occurrence of Isaron needs to be spelled without the vav. That's the Leningrad Codex, written the year 1008 roughly, so perhaps a bit later than the manuscript we have just looked at before. And finally, third time's a charm, here is a manuscript so-called the Damascus Pentateuch, and again probably written within a century of the other 2 manuscripts, so probably sometime in the 900s or early 1000s. And yet again, here we are, the Isaron. We have the first 10th part written without the vav and the second one with. So there we go, just a little illustration among many, many that could be brought of the attention to detail of the Masoretic scribes, which, as you know, I never tire of explaining to you.